Public.
Call the Board of Selectmen's meeting to order Wednesday, February 1st, 2023 at 6:30 in the Great Hall. Do we have any reason for non-public?
Mr. Chairman, we do 3 items, RSA 91A3, Roman numeral 2, lowercase a, employment, lowercase c, reputation, and lowercase e, litigation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, consideration of minutes, December 29th, 2022.
I have one change. It's on page 3. And it is 7th paragraph from the bottom. It starts with Mrs. Murray states, and then it's the end of the next sentence, is not available, and then cross out that next, the end of the sentence, and add, the school board needs to vote prior to the Board of Selectmen voting, and the Board of Selectmen should follow the process. And that's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'll make a motion to accept the December 29th, 2022 minutes as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is January 18th, 2023. This is the regular meeting. These are the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept them as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have some public hearings tonight, quite a few, so. Temporary event permit applications. Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for the Wolfeboro Cross Country Ski Association to hold a Nordic race on February 25th, 2023. Weather dates, February 26th or March 4th. The Abenaki Ski Area, 309 Pine Hill Road, from 8 a.m. to noon. Anybody here to talk to that? No? Board? Probably this is, I think, something that's been going on for a while, too.
Yeah, I'll just, yeah, this has been in before for us. We've approved it and stuff, but I just wanted to bring up, Parks and Rec had on there that the rain date of March 4th won't work for them because there's 2 other events going on. So I would think that the board would probably want, if we entertain this, to limit it to the dates here, February 25th and 26th, and not the March 4th.
Okay. We'll amend that then.
Make that a motion if you'd like. To
And I'll
approve it.
second that.
Amended? Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit. First Congregational Church of Wolfeboro to host morning worship service at Cape Park from May 28th to September 4th, 2023, Sunday mornings from 7:30 to 9:30. Anybody here from the church?
Yeah, I'm Meg Gahagan, and I'm representing the church.
Anybody have any questions? I think you've done this before, too, haven't you?
Yes, and I think it's a
For a few
worship.
years.
Yeah, and it's a worship service, and you bring your own chairs, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Come as you are and bring your dog if you want.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody wish to speak for or against? Okay, close the hearing. Board?
Make a motion to approve it, issue a temporary event permit for the First Congregational Church of Wolfeboro to host morning worship service in Cape Park from May 28th to September 24th, 2023, Sunday mornings from 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the Wolfboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for the First Congregational Church of Wolfboro to host an Easter worship service at Aldi Beach on April 9th, 2023, from 4:45 a.m. to 7 a.m. Hi,
Hi, I'm Joanne Moe. I represent the church.
okay. Any questions from the board?
No.
Questions from the public? Seeing none, I'll close the hearing. You have,
No, I was just going to say it's the same thing. You bring your chair or you can stand. Your choice.
okay.
Move to issue a temporary event permit for the First Congregational Church of Wolfeboro to host Easter worship service at Albee Beach on April 9th, 2023, from 4:45 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Wolfboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for the Wolfboro Historical Society to hold an antique fair at the Clark Museum Complex on June 10th, 2023, the rain date of June 11th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Hi,
Yes.
I'm Pat Hodder, representing the Historical Society.
Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak for or against? Have closed the hearing. Any questions?
Move to issue event permit for the Wolfboro Historical Society to hold an antique fair at the Clark Museum Complex on June 10, 2023, rain date June 11, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., permit number 2023-12.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We'll open up another hearing. The Wolfboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for the Wolfboro Historical Society to hold an antique fair at Clark Museum Complex on July 8th, 2023, rain date July 9th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yeah,
Anything you want to add to that?
no, it's pretty much the same as the previous one.
Okay. Close the hearing.
I just have one comment, which we probably should have said in the beginning. We did send a letter per our agreement to John Burt and Bob Tuffer, and we got the answer back that they had no issue with these.
Good news.
Thought you would like to know that.
Yes, I'm very happy to know that.
Move to issue a temporary event permit for the Wolfboro Historical Society to hold an antique fair at the Clark Museum Plaza on July 8th, 2023, rain date July 9th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., permit number 2023-13.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have the Wolfboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for the Wolfboro Historical Society to hold an antique fair at Clark Museum Complex on August 12th, 2023, rain date August 13th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
This is
Same-
the same type of
basic.
event, yeah, everything's about the same.
Right, I'll take care of the trifecta. Move to issue temporary event permit for the Wolfboro Historical Society to hold an antique fair at the Clark Museum Complex on August 12, 2023, rain date August 13th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., permit number 2023-14.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we got one more. The Wolfboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for the Wolfboro Historical Society to hold an antique fair at Clark Museum Complex on October 7th, 2023, the rain date of October 8th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. I'm assuming that's the same basic.
It is the same thing.
Move to issue a temporary event permit for the Wolfeboro Historical Society to hold an antique fair at the Clark Museum Complex on October 7th, 2023, rain date October 8th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., permit numbers 2023-15.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Next on our agenda is our bulk vote. Includes the weekly manifest, property tax refunds and abatements, application for current use assessment, intent to cut warrant, property tax credit exemptions. Somebody like to make a motion to approve the bulk vote?
I'll make a motion to approve the bulk vote A through E.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next on our agenda is board committee appointments. These aren't appointments. We have 2 resignations, both of them from the Heritage Commission. Want to make a motion to accept the resignations?
So moved.
Second. Who's spelling?
Bronzetti is spelled wrong.
Yeah, Ron Bonzetti and Cindy Melanson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, new business. Approvals for 2023 hawkers and peddlers permits, locations 1, 2, and 3. These are location 1 and 2 is for Hot Dog Bob, and 3 is for
Alley Cat.
Allie Cooper. Location 3, which is by Railroad Avenue. Go ahead.
I have a question. I do not see Alley Cooper's state of New Hampshire hawkers and peddlers state license, and I have no problem granting it, but contingent upon her providing us with that license. We've got them from Hot Dog Bob. I'd like to make sure we get that from her.
Okay. Is that a motion?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is Pop Whalen rates. What do you have? Jim, you?
Yeah. So you should have in your packet a outline memo showing requests for rates for the Pop Whalen Ice and Arts Center for the upcoming year. We've got a couple of different sets of rates we'd like you to consider. One of them is for non-ice rates, summertime, off-seasons. We've got a series of 3 options or 3 recommendations in there. Day-long events of $1,200 per day, adult group programming, $50 an hour, and youth or school leagues, $40 an hour. That's for the non-ice rates. We really would like to get that taken care of this evening. We've also got requesting you to look at ice rates for the 2023-2024 ice season. Reason we want to look at this now is so that some of our users of the facility have the ability to have an understanding of what the rates are going forward. What we're recommending for prime rates is $235 per hour. That would be Friday afternoon through the close of business on Sunday, and all other hours would be $200 an hour. This information is pulled from the Friends of Pop Whalen business plan. I believe they have a representative here tonight to speak on behalf of this. Also in the memo, you see actual utilization of the budgets, and you'll also see what we're looking at for estimated calculations of the amount of ice which has been used since the arena is opened and scheduled to be used through the close of the season for ice time. We did do for better terms, a check running it on another program that Casey had last year, which you see in here. It's very similar in numbers, and we're hopeful that by taking these rates and making this adjustment, that it will actually help us to contribute to keeping this enterprise fund self-sustaining. If these projections were to come out to be true, the estimated revenues would be approximately $29,000 of profit on a $303,002 operating budget. If you want to talk the off-season rates first, that would probably be a good place to start.
Anybody have any questions?
I do. I don't see how we came to $1,200 for a daily rate, because if you took a group rate per hour, you'd come to $500. That just seems so out of whack with what we're charging per hour.
This is what was provided to me as a recommendation from Parks and Rec. I think a lot of it boiled down to they figured that there would be a strong likelihood that there would be a significant number of people there for those day-long events, which will put an impact on the operating systems of the facility, toilets, septic, et cetera. But that's all that I can speak to that. I'm not sure if Molly has any other background as to how that number came to be.
Hello, I'm Molly Hatch. I'm the programmer for Wolfeboro Parks and Rec. I cannot speak directly on how they came to the decision for those rates. I know that they were comparing local municipality rink rates and taking those into consideration. So that would be what I would look to on the sheet that shows all the other local towns with their rink rates.
Thank you. Thank you. Jim, I just can't support $1,200 without some kind of documentation behind on how they calculated, because it's so out of line with the other rates that we have, you know, and whether you want to do it with a number of people there or something, but if there's a small group who wants to run a day-long event, that's going to be prohibitive at that number.
Well, my feeling would be that they put some effort into figuring out the rates, and I think we ought to at least start with those rates. Makes sense to me if that's what they're proposing. But I know if you have what is it, cornhole tournaments and stuff there, there's no ice, it's the concrete pad that's there. So they may get enough income to take care of that.
My thought was maybe they would have a threshold and they would say if you have a group under X, 50 people, it's $50 an hour. If it's a group over X, it steps up to the $1,200 minimum cost. I don't know what that number should be. That would be up to Parks and Rec to bring it to us and decide, okay, we think that a group this size is not going to be anything significant for us to maintain, to clean up after, for use on the facility, but anything that's large, of course, there's going to be more man-hours involved in wear and tear.
So what I can do is I can take this back, ask for greater backup, but if we could at least engage B and C,
I'm fine with that.
That would be very helpful to get some service.
Using this chart, too, on the last page, right? Where it
Correct.
shows off-ice rentals for the rest of the arenas.
Correct.
So, I mean, I think that's where, but maybe if they code it better in the sense of, you know, obviously, for instance, you know, the JFK Arena is $1,900 for off-ice rental. That's you know, with that needs to come some, if you're going to charge $1,200, it probably needs to come with something of, you know, you're basically renting the whole facility for the day almost in a sense, as opposed to just the, is that how you'd read that, Linda? Like if you were renting?
I just would like to know, I mean, if they just took it from here, I mean, if there's a group, as Brian said, of, you know, 100 people who do it, that's very different. If there are 2,000, that's more, you know, and define what, maybe I need a definition of what they mean by a full-day event. Maybe that is more, that we define it, so if I was, somebody who wants to run an event, and I had a small group, I wouldn't do it for a day long, I'd do it for 6 hours.
Yeah.
I'd go at 50.
But if you had a boat show coming in, for instance, like someone was going to do a boat show and invite, you know, everyone to come, that would be something different too.
That would be far larger.
Yep. Victor, do you want to make a comment?
Sure. Victor Jordan, Friends of Pop. So we had looked at this quite a quite a while back. So with, you know, events like pickleball, cornhole, things like that, there's different ways of doing this. So you could either, similar to how you do the stick and puck or, you know, public skating sessions, you could do if I wanted to play pickleball, I could buy a card, get 10 units, and it's X number of dollars. So that's one way to do it. Most pickleball courses and courts, indoor, charge a monthly facility like a gym membership. So I'd go in and I'd buy January, and it's anywhere from 40 to 55, depends on how nice the facility is, but $40 to $50 range is about the right number. Based on the number of pickleballers around, I think that you'd be pretty safe to figure that you're going to get a couple hundred people signed up, you know, for April, May, and probably June, and without a lot of effort. So that, when I was looking at the numbers, because, you know, the Friends of Pop initially came in, we went to the Budget Committee, the CIP, and the Selectmen, all of you, and said, this is what validates the repairs and the renovation project, right? This is why we do it and make this a four-season facility. So that, we had carried 30,000 for the summer in our original projection. So if you get 200 pickleballers, that pays for your summer effectively. So on top of that, you could do the same thing, and I think Molly would know. I mean, she's done the cornhole. I haven't done it, but I have a feeling that it's in that public skating at $7 a session or $10. Is that about right? We're in the ballpark, right? But there's a bunch of them that come once or twice a week, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, normally we have to like sign up as teams for the session, and it'll be like a flat rate.
Right. But if you figured 2 nights a week and you get 50 people there, you get, 100 people, that's another $1,000 a week in cornhole fees. So, I guess, backing into the budget, I think that there's, and the third way is if the Lakes Region pickleballers just wanted to say, I want to block out for a tournament, period, and bring in people from wherever, and I want to lock these courts out, then I would say, okay, well, you're $50 an hour. They're going to, just like Back Bay rents the ice for 2, 3, 4 hours, or Kingswood or Brewster's, no different, right? We pay the same with Abenaki. It's the ski teams block out hours, and we pay that fee. So what, I guess standing back and looking at this, for me, there should be a little bit of autonomy with being able to get rates done. Right now, when we click the gavel, that's the end of it, and it's, you have to sell it for $50 an hour or $60 or whatever gets agreed on. But I think there needs to be a little bit of flexibility in how this moves forward. But I think the overall concept to get this started is good, but I think you guys really long-term need to be thinking about a bunch of other programs to continue to grow this out. And this is a good start on the off-season rates. I think they're fine. I had pulled about a year ago, Everett Arena sent me theirs because I know they do gun shows and flower shows and different things. And they were about 1,500 was my recollection for an event, right? So they take Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they do a gun show. It's $1,500 a day is kind of that sort of fee range. So if, you know, again, to Linda's point, if I want to have an event there and it's a small function and I've got 30 people, that's not really an event. You're renting at $50 an hour, right? That's, you kind of to your point, Linda. It's a little bit of the semantics of.
Well, we may need, I think you need what we define as a day-long event. The size and stuff like that, then that makes sense. Because if I was going to do it, I would just rent it by the hour.
Right.
And not call it a day-long event.
But
If I heard you correctly, you were making a motion to approve everything but the day-long events and want more information on that?
Yeah, I would like, yeah, in terms of the non-ICE rates, the adult groups, $50 per hour, and the youth group, school leagues, $40 per hour.
Second that.
And we'll get more information from Parks and Rec in reference to the day-long event number.
Yeah.
So that we're clearer on that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Talking,
That's what you meant,
that's
correct?
exactly what I said, yep.
Okay.
Yep, I'm comfortable with that.
Any other discussion amongst the board? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so that takes care of that. Now we're looking at the proposed 2023 and 2024 ICE rates. What we're looking at for an increase is to the prime rate of $235 an hour. That would go from 215, which is a 9.3% increase, and from 198 to 200, which is a 1% increase for the non-prime. Those are the rates that we're recommending you consider for 2023, beginning in October through the 2024 season.
Well, I thought we had done that with the motion we just had.
No, I just did the
You
non-ICE
just did
rates.
the non-ice rink?
Yes,
Okay.
because we hadn't even talked about these yet. I just did the non.
Yeah, Brad.
Yeah, on this one here, I just got a comment to make. Looking at that chart toward the back there, and the summary down near the bottom, have the average municipal rates in there for prime and call it non-prime rate. You know, for the municipal one, the average is $277 an hour and $205 for non-prime. What I'd like to suggest is, I mean, I'm good with the $235 for this year, but because I don't want to, you can't have a huge jump as we go into this, but I think we need to look at this maybe another year down the road and try and get us into the range, in the average range of what these rinks are. I mean, we just spent, you know, $7 million on this project here, and it's going to be, you know, it is a very nice, not going to be, it is a very nice arena up there and stuff, so I think we should get fair market value for it in our race time, so.
I think we should look at this every year.
Yeah.
And start doing it in January. And people, I mean, I think you need to raise the rates gradually.
Yeah.
And I think that
Agreed.
when I looked at our business plan of the Friends of Pop, they had 235, and that was less than North Conway, and we can work our way up.
Yep.
Because of the regular users, they'll give them a little chance to know we're going to do that and get it into their budgets.
Okay, any other questions?
I believe somebody may want to.
So, getting back on the things, on the rates, we're taking the low rate and we're bumping it 1%, and we're bumping the high rate 9.3%, basically. The bulk of the hours are spent in the low rate category. We have 5 days in the non-prime and 2 days at the prime. So if you did a 5% increase for both categories, you end up making more money at the end of the day. I'm not sure where the $2 increase came from for the non-prime. Wolfeboro is the only rink around that I know that has staggered rates. I don't know the difference between prime and non-prime, but it should almost probably, last year we went from 4 rates to 2 rates. No one could figure out the 4. Really can't figure out the 2 either, or why we have them. But at some point we need to probably come to one blended rate so we operate, so you can budget. It's a little easier to budget, it's a little easier to forecast as well. But I'd recommend kind of getting these blended into one normalized rate. The data sheet in the back that is the reference for the state survey was Wolfeboro put it as 50-minute ice slots, so it throws off their average ice time, so that's wrong. So we didn't fill out our own form right, but I'm also a little concerned. So I think we're going to overshoot all of the targets that were laid out on Annex 2. So what we've seen so far is like adult league, men's league. I've run that for years, and there's usually 16, 18, maybe 20 guys show up. The first night I had 40 people show up. And so I said, well, we're going to take you 40 and we're going to split it into four teams of 10. And everyone said, yeah, we're in. By Tuesday, I had 60 people signed up of that same week. And now we're at about 65 or 66. So technically we could, when we were researching this and, throwing out things, when we were talking to the different committees and things, we said, Ham Arena runs 14 adult leagues, 14 teams in their adult leagues, figure skating, co-ed, ladies, and men's hockey and league. And so right now we have 4 men's leagues, 4 on the men's. Our co-ed team took off. They had 40 people show up on the bench on the first night. So they're probably going to have 4 teams next year. I talked to figure skating earlier today. It looks like they'll be back next year for sure. And the She-Wolves are back as well. So I think that there's a lot of really good stuff from a utilization perspective. So, that I think we're going to hit all those targets. What worries me a little bit is when I look at the expense side of that sheet, there's certain things that are needed to operate efficiently out there that aren't there. And, without, management that's there physically with eyes on, that's, operating that rink, being an absentee manager is that's not a good plan. The staffing is not done well. That stuff needs a hard look. And I'll keep that as brief as possible right now, but that needs a lot of work and attention. So, we've got a lot of pluses, but there's some other stuff. I would recommend that you really look at upping the non-prime probably more than $2, essentially at the end.
I have no problem raising the rate higher, or do we take you're talking about a blended rate, bring down the recommended $2.35 an hour, and then raise the non-prime and get those two closer together.
Right. And if you like the two, if we have, those that would be impacted most are the schools. Mm-hmm. So, because they use a lot of the non-prime currently. Mm-hmm. So even if we, even if we gave them 5% and said, okay, well, it's not 198, it's 205. Mm-hmm. If you said, well, they're 205 and the top rate is 230 instead of 235, you'd still end up with more money at the end of the day, just because there's more hours utilized. So that $5 just by switching which bucket is coming in on,
I'd recommend
more repeat.
I'd recommend going to the 205 and leaving the 235, because the 235 is still reasonable compared to other.
235 is well below any other rate in the state by any of the normal facilities that aren't funded by like a prep school or something. So
Well, if we're going to have the day-long events looked at. Let's have them look at the number 2, prime rate, non-prime rate, and bring that back to us.
Well, I think
All
we
three.
want these set, don't you need these set, Victor,
These
to
are for
get?
next year.
I don't
That's
think
right.
that it would hurt to take your $200 rate and say it's $205. You know, I think just for, I think at the end of the day, I think there's equipment that's needed out there. You know, just to give you an example, we rented a floor washer to prep the ice so the ice could be made, right? It cost a little over $1,000 and $1,500 a week to rent it. And it costs probably $6,000 to buy it. So the way we're set up now, we need to clean that floor at least when we make ice and when we tear it out, and let's say we're doing pickleball or we're doing spring events. So now we need it twice a year. So it's going to cost us $3,000 in rental fees. Why wouldn't we want to own that? Because there's other times where we're just going to want to clean the floor, right? And it's faster and easier. You don't want someone out there with a mop and a bucket that'd be there for a lifetime, right? So, you know, things like that really aren't in the budget. And I think where this is an enterprise account, they should probably be given a little more autonomy and with some of that stuff. But I also think that, you know, you probably want to look at, as another example, is going to some offline, the schedule gets booked for the season for all of our prime users. You know who your prime users are. If Suzanne wanted to have an event there, she could go online. If you had a secondary platform, Suzanne could go on and say, well, geez, I want to use it Saturday at 2 o'clock and it's open. I can rent it and I can just click on it and I can book that ice. And the way the booking softwares work, maybe you don't get $200 an hour, but no one else has booked it. So instead of the ice being idle, maybe it sells for $140 or $150, but that's suitable. You know, Suzanne said, well, geez, I'm willing to pay that, but you just booked that ice. You're still paying for your staff and the facility, so you just made $140 at the end of the day, whatever that fee is. So there's, you know, booking systems that don't have an expense side that, you know, really would be probably a long-term fix and simplification of trying to get some of this stuff done. So anyway, that's a couple of recommendations.
Yeah, and with those booking things, can't you make it so that if somebody books it 2 months out, it's at regular cost, but if they book it a month out, it's a little bit less. If they book it a week out, it's a little bit less, because it's like filling up an airplane.
You are filling up the airplane. You can set it up however you want. You could make certain dates available only 7 days out,
Yeah.
right? So all your prime users have first dibs 7 days out. You open it up, and then anybody can book and fill the voids in your schedule. So things like that should, you know, probably be considered, and they're free services. So, you know, when I book the ice, I pay the booking fee. So you don't. It doesn't come out of your money. It comes from the whoever's booking. So anyway.
What do you want to do?
I'm okay moving it to 205. And Brad was the one who kind of
Yeah, I am
said it,
too.
and I got to support that. I think that
Yeah.
makes,
Yeah, I'm good with bringing it up to the 205, because, you know, a $2 increase wasn't much of a difference anyway there.
Yeah.
And obviously do the 235 this year, look at it again next year, and like you said, slowly get it built up to where we're in the range of everybody else.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Okay, so we're at 235 for prime and 205 for
205.
non-prime.
Yes.
Yep.
fine. And you're going to get us a definition and more
There'll
on
be
the other.
a follow-up, and I'll also try to calculate some of this based on those projections of 205 and 235.
Okay, next is discussion of Wolfboro Single Track Alliance.
So in front of you this evening, you received a letter drafted by me based on a request for additional information from the Single Track Alliance. I've put together the requested information, which I received from Brian, and one item from Linda. I'm ready to hit send if this works for the Board of Selectmen.
You know, I question why we want their agreement with the Lakes Region Conservation Trust. You know, I mean, I think we should have it for the ski group, the cross-country ski group who's using town land. But and a group that's not, I don't. I know Brian wants it, but that's just my personal feeling. I brought my questions up because I'm trying to get my head around the petition warrant article. And in the petition warrant article, it says we are to step to donation for construction of $170,986. And I have a presentation from them in 2021 that they spent $83,628. When we got their 990N, that you file that postcard if you have 50,000 or less in revenue. We have nothing for 2021. And what I'm trying to gather is, what year did they get this money? And is the rest of the 87,000 that's still left, was that something they paid in 2022? I have no way of knowing where that figure came from. And that was my question to Jim, because I would like to see the verification that these funds are being donated to them and they're paying it out. And I can't tell that from what I've got here. So I did it from trying to figure out this warrant article, and that's why I sent it out.
That's the exact reason why I asked for all the financial documents. Why I want the MOUs is because I think going forward, and Jim and I talked about this, that we're going to use our tax cards, and every tax card is going to have a list, have a notation on it that the public can't see, that will say if there's a lease agreement on the property, if there's a license agreement on the property, if there's an MOU on the property. And so that would mean that Sewer Woods, yes, we don't own it. It's not town property, but it's within our jurisdiction. And if there's an MOU on it, it should be on that tax card also.
Well, what does the MOU do in terms of the assessed value or anything else? That tax card's for assessed value. They have an MOU for maintenance. How does that affect our assessing?
It doesn't affect our assessed value, but the reason they're going on the cards is because when items come up and they say, what was the MOU on that? And it was 20 years ago. Or what was the license agreement on that? And it was 15 years ago. What was the lease agreement on that property? And we have to go back and look at minutes from 1972 and different pieces of information here and there. This way, it's all going to be just on the tax cards, so that any property that has something attached to it, we can find it. We can find it easily.
I want to clarify one thing about that.
Yep.
Those are town properties.
That's where I'm having the issue.
That's town properties.
Yes.
Because we're not going to get into holding MOUs,
Right.
licenses, lease agreements
Correct.
with every property in town.
Correct.
So this is specifically geared toward those documents that we as the town need to foster and be able to say, this thing is due for renewal. It'll throw us a flag saying, this is due for renewal or revisit. And that's a good way.
So what if we have a license agreement with a private homeowner or an easement through a private homeowner's land that's an easement to the town? Shouldn't that be registered on the tax card too?
But that's part of when they go to assess the property, they know that easement is there. That's a deed restriction that they would find. I'm with Jim. I agree with you. I think it's a great system for our land that we as a town own. I think that's fantastic, and we can land it. I just don't want to get into asking for MOUs from entities that we don't own and have no relationship to.
Imagine a snowmobile club. I mean, they could cross 50 landowners' property during the snowmobile trail. If you had to put all those MOUs on every single tax card, you know, the agreements with the homeowner and the snowmobile club, I mean, that could be thousands of homeowners across Carroll County or in Wolfeboro even.
Well, not thousands in Wolfeboro.
We have 4 trails in Wolfeboro.
Because right now, what I'm concerned about is there is a licensing agreement between the Wolfeboro Cross Country Ski Association and the town of Wolfeboro. And nobody's been able to find that for me. Not the Nordic skier, not, you know, we have a license agreement between the Conservation Commission and the Single Track Alliance. We have a MOU between the Single Track and the Pathways Committee for $42,000 that was supposed to be used to maintain the stone dust trails on Abernathy. No one has been able to get that MOU for me. Now that does involve maintaining trails on town property. And it goes on and on and on. Then you have the Nordic skier with Lakes Region Conservation Trust. So the same properties that are in our town jurisdiction have MOUs and licensing agreements, and we don't have any of those agreements. We haven't seen any of them. I've asked for them, and none of them can be produced for me.
I agree with you with those. I think we should have the conservation. I think we should have the cross-country ski. I do not need the MOU between Single Track and the Lakes Conservation Trust, Lakes Region Conservation Trust. That doesn't, we don't have any jurisdiction over there. That's my difference. I'm with Jim.
Well, the only thing I have with that one is if someone falls and breaks an arm, breaks a leg, has an issue in that woods, it's our fire and safety that go in and take them out. I think we should know what kind of MOU and what kind of liability the Lakes Region Conservation Trust has for an agreement with Single Track Alliance, because that's pertinent to what we do. We still have to care about the safety of people in that woods. And so I think we should have any document that pertains to that woods. Unless that or Lakes Region Conservation Trust and Single Track can hire their own ambulance crew. Let them do that. But it just doesn't make sense that these documents are out there and we don't see them. I did a little bit of conversation with the main trail builders this week. Talked to Stu Johnson. Found out that a company named Manny Paxit Trail Contracting actually built the trails under the direction of Andrew Lester. And they're actually from Fayetteville, Arkansas, and they were told by Andrew Lester that they would have a 2 to 3 year project up here for $300,000. That's what they were told. They came up here, they started to build. We all know what happened with Andrew Lester and all that. He built the float trail. They wanted a wow factor. I gave you a document. They wanted, their idea, according to the main trail builders, was to build something like Highland Park. Highland Park has a ski lift where people get pulled up to the top of the mountain. They have multiple flow trails. They take and they charge adults $54 a day, juniors $27 a day for midweek, and for the weekend $68 a day, and juniors $34 a day just to use their flow trails. They take and they also have to fill out a waiver in order to go on those trails in case they get injured. Then they also have another set where you can, instead of using the lift, it's a non-lift, and you can, you also have to be 42 inches tall to ride the lift. They have a non-lift where you have to drive your bike up the hills before you go down. They charge $15 for that. They have $20 for adults and $10 for juniors. So if the pretext was that they were going to create another Highland Park, which is over in Northfield, New Hampshire, in Wolfeboro, there's a lot of moving parts here. I mean, the main trail builders also told me that they ended up finishing up the work and they did the repairs for us that we asked over there. They actually said that they thought it was too technical and that some of the design was iffy, like you would come off one jump and you would land smack right into another jump and you would fall. Unless you were going certain speeds, it wasn't very, very safe. So they're the ones that cut out some of the obstacles, changed things, moved some rocks, shored up the property. They were actually out there, and Spencer Samuelin came out and was talking to them, and he was like, wow. And he said to them, this trail is way bigger than what I expected. And he also told me that he didn't believe that Spencer Samuelin has a written agreement with the Single Track Alliance to give them that granted money, that he's paying them as they go. So if he's paying them as they go, that means that they don't have the money that is said on that warrant article to donate because it hasn't even hit their bank account. Another reason we need to see their financial statements. Where are we? Where else? He also told me that a lot of the trail building industry is drying up right now because money's shorter than it was 5 years ago. So he said that's something. And what else we got? We got, oh, to maintain the trails. I asked him how much to maintain the trails. He said if your volunteers dry up, to maintain Abenaki is $10,000 a year. And to maintain Fernal Crossing is $20,000 a year, because there's more trails there. He also said, and you'll see this picture, a lovely picture with two dirt trails and a big rock berm in the middle and a big rock berm on the outside. He said that the main trail builders said they scattered all the rocks out into the woods. Andrew Lester told them to get the rocks all back. He wanted to line the trails with them. And they said they think that that's kind of unsafe because Andrew, I guess, wanted to create a Zen factor with all his stacked rocks and everything. So there's, again, a lot of moving pieces to this. And I just, yes, maybe I'm asking for too much for documentation, but to me, too much is better than what we've gotten. I've asked for their financials. They said no. We asked for financials again. They gave us just postcards for the last 3 years, not any documentation at all for the $170,000 that they supposedly received in 2021. And then if they spend $83,000, as Linda has said, on the Abenaki Trail, then how are they giving us a donation for $170,000? Was that other money spent on trails in Fernal Crossing? But that doesn't pertain to this project. So there's not enough information.
And that's why I'm asking, and I went to try to figure out what that $170,000 included, and I went back to the information they provided, and I couldn't get that. And I know they said that that's what they spent in 2021, and I agree with you. I think we need to see that tax return, and they need to get us a copy of it. And they need to tell us how they get, what we're paying, what we're asking the taxpayers to accept for $170,900 and some odd dollars. That's what I would, because what I'm looking at is that Warren article, and if I see somebody on the street and they say, well, what is that 170 plus? I have no way of giving them any kind of information. And then they say to you, well, how come you don't know that information? If we change, because right now we've abstained from doing it. If we then turn around to vote yes, I can't answer that question, and that's what I'm looking at. I look at that Warren article, and if any voter comes up to me, I want to be able to say, yep, I know where that amount came from. You know, I have this sheet, they gave us an itemized deduction. We can see from their tax return that they got those donations and it went through single track.
From now on, just for me, this is me personally, people don't come with documentation and they don't meet the expectations that they put forward before me. I'm going to be a perpetual no. I'm done with promises not kept and with people doing first and then apologizing later. I may be the only one that rides that path, but that's the path I'm going to ride.
Well, here's the difference I find. We're kind of backwards on this one. Somehow those trails got built. We didn't have any say in how it was set up. And in that warrant article, it also says that we have to use single track for the maintenance and operation. Before we get into any legal document, they're going to have to give us that information. As the Friends of the Libby, if they're going to take over the management of the Libby, and I think, Jim, you and I have talked about it, we need a process and know exactly what documents we as a board want to verify that they have the resources that they're agreeing to. And I think, I agree with you on that as I look at it. But this one I find is backwards. We're doing it backwards because they've already gotten on the property. The next one we'll do it the correct way, and then we need to do it with Libya or anybody else. We have the financial reports and documents that verify that they can do what they say they're going to do.
Well, for me personally, I've drawn a line in the sand. Somebody does something without permission anymore, to me it's going to be no bulldoze it. End of story. Because that's just not the way it works. If somebody came in and put a path through my front yard, it would be gone the next day and they'd be seeing me in court. I'm done.
All right. Jim, you got anything to add to that?
No, I need direction on whether I send this letter, if I take anything out, if I add anything.
Okay, board, what do you want Jim to do with this?
I'm one person of the board, made one comment, so the rest of you have to make some comments.
I think what Linda said about I mean, it's not town property. I don't think we need to know about the agreement.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that also. Just stick with the issues on here and anything that pertains to the town properties, the Conservation Commission, remove Lakes Region Conservation Trust, Wolfeboro, the pathways, so unless anything involves the town properties. I just want to see those removed, but definitely want the financials and the other information that's on there.
So Brad, you believe that the Wolfeboro Pathways Committee information should stay in the document?
No, unless it involves a piece on the town property.
Well, it does, because the $42,000 that was donated from the Pathways, which nobody can find me that MOU. I've asked multiple people on the Pathways Committee, and I've asked the single track, and I've asked the Cross-Country Ski Association. Anyways, that money, I asked Wedco too, that money, that $42,000, a portion of it was supposed to be used to maintain the stone dust trails on Abenaki. There's a mile of stone dust trails on Abenaki. There's 3 miles in Sewell Woods. That $42,000 was supposed to be spent on both. If you take 4 and you divide it into 42,000, that's $10,500 each for each mile of trail. So
yeah, that's fine for the part up in Abenaki stuff, but I don't care to see on the Sewell Woods portion how much is spent there. That has anything to do with us here. I was talking mainly about the written agreement there. So the itemized accounting for the 42,000, yes, we do need to see that because that does involve on our trail in Abenaki, so.
But I want to make the distinction, the Pathways Trail that the committee that had the money was not the town's committee. It was a group who raised money. They used Wedco as their 501c3. They got donations. They had some money left over. I got an email from Peter Cole, and they gave it over to the single track.
So I've talked to Peter Cole, and I talked to Mal Blodgett, and I talked to Steve Flagg, and I talked to Wedco, and what happened was virtually the same people that were on the town Pathways Committee were on the independent committee. They actually created the independent committee for the money-raising portion, but that money that they took and they gave to Single Track through Wedco was to be used to maintain trails at Abenaki on town property. So therefore, it involves the town and it involves us. It's also very strange that 2 private groups made an MOU agreement to repair things on town property, didn't tell the town, and didn't give us a copy of the MOU.
You know, I think, as I recall, in 2007, the bike path that was on the town property was just a small little bit on the edge of Abenaki. It is not a big, huge...
It's a 1 mile stone dust.
On the
trail.
edge of it, it's not on the bottom of it by the road.
Yeah, it's 1 mile long.
Fine, it's 1 mile long, but it's not winding up through the Abenaki like these are. To me, that group, and people are here, gave the money to the single track. That group should find out whether their money is being used the way it has been. And that the town, we don't know of any money being spent on our land. So if there has been, then they should find out and let us know.
Yeah. And I think we should see a copy of that MOU between the two groups, because it's an MOU created by, again, I'll say it 1,000 times, by two private companies or two private groups to work on town property. So if they're making this arrangement, an agreement to work on town property, we're going to make sure that we see that MOU and that they come to us first and say, can we have permission to come on town property and to fix your trail? And by the way, we have the money because it was gifted to us from the Pathways Committee. I think that's not asking for too much.
I don't have any problem seeing the MOU. I just, again, say that this is not a town committee. And yes, they were the same people. And probably back at the time when those people were here, there was some kind of, and if we go back in minutes, there probably is something in there. But I don't have any problem getting the MOU. I find it strange that you could ask and nobody will give it to you. And I don't know what that says.
4 different people.
I don't know what that says, and I'm surprised.
So we're going to keep, just for clarification here, we're going to keep in the 990. The 990 doesn't include their balance sheet, so we're asking for their balance sheet separately?
Yep.
Okay. And is that a normal thing you'd ask people for, is their balance sheet?
It is for most, like if we ask agencies to provide something for their budget requests.
So the only thing we're removing from this whole thing is the the Lakes Region Conservation Trust Agreement.
And I think modifying item 3 to reflect itemized accounting of the $42,000 from the Wolfeboro Pathways Committee used to maintain trails on town of Wolfeboro property.
Perfect. Thank you.
Is that a motion you want to make?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second to Brian's motion to ask for an accounting of that 42,000? No?
I don't, my concern is they don't want to give it to us. That's the problem.
We can ask.
I don't have any problem. I will give in to asking for it. But I just think we have to be careful that we stay within the things that we have authority to ask for and be part of, and not in other people's business, and that's my concern.
Oh.
Well, I would say this.
I'll second Brian's motion.
Thank you.
And this is basically to ask for an accounting of the money that was given to them.
Yeah, the 9...
But anything going forward, I think we all kind of agree that anything that's going on town property, they need to come to the town.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before anything gets started.
Yeah.
And if we find out that something's getting started, we need to stop it.
Absolutely.
Okay? All right. We kind of understand where we're headed with this?
I'm going to hit send very shortly.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Josiah Brown Scholarships, updated guidelines.
Okay, so we know that we've had an issue with the Josiah Brown Scholarship really having limits that are too low. Amy and I had some conversations. We also reached out to different educators guidance counselors, et cetera. And what we're proposing is that we increase the income limits for a single child family, $69,090, 2 children, $83,250, 3 children, $97,410, and 4 children or more, $111,570. This, I believe, based on the documents we've pulled together, this reflects 300% of the poverty level. And in speaking with, again, a variety of different educators, they felt that this was a fair number. We know that we are having troubles attracting people for this scholarship. We're continuing to grow pots of money in the fund, so this is for you to consider.
I think we had talked about this before, that we needed to update some of the income levels in particular.
Yeah.
Linda?
I just want to note one thing. Before, it was $75,000 for their it says doesn't include home, land, and then it says checking accounts, trusts, et cetera, should not exceed $100,000. Before it was 75. So we're taking not only the amount per kid, but also the amount of assets. I went back and I looked at, could only find my November treasurer's report on the Josiah Brown Fund. I think in December we gave out $6,000. Which leaves us with $45,211, and last year they gave us $35,000. That means we could be this spring with about $80,000 that we need to give away or try to give away. So I would like us to try this. If we still aren't getting anybody, we really may need to up it even more. But I think this is a good start at trying to get rid of, I shouldn't say get rid of, to award.
Yeah.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to approve the proposed Josiah Brown Scholarship Fund?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all's in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have approval of $8,000 purchase motor for rope tow from the Capital Reserve Abenaki.
So we've got a tow motor, which is known as a Wisconsin, which is no longer made anymore. We've been able to locate a rebuilt one. And by the time we get the thing shipped, have it here, and do some ancillary maintenance to it, and get the thing running, we're going to be pretty close to $8,000. Right now, the existing motor is running on 2 cylinders out of the 4. It's just a matter of time before the thing no longer works. So while the timing on this isn't great, we were able to come up with a solution to keep the area going. And if you haven't been out there, the hill looks wonderful. The snow is fantastic, and the place appears to be staying busy. So we're hopeful that you'll support this so that we can keep this asset running for the rest of the ski season.
Jim, can I ask what the time frame is on getting it here and getting it installed and stuff? Or?
I'm actually under the understanding it's already on its way.
Okay.
Oh, well, I don't know then.
So Jim, here's a question. Could you...
Brian, you better get up. This is before we...
It happened before you said yes.
Oh, Jiminy Crickets. So here's a question. We have to send the core back, our old one. Would he give us a fantastic deal because we're a repeat customer if we sent back our core and had it rebuilt?
I think the takeaway on this, Brian, is we've been planning this, and I think we need to look at alternative ways to run the hill, which is an electric motor. Over this past year, we did put conduits in. When the work was done up there, the board approved that money to have the conduits run so that we can eventually get 3-phase power to the top of the hill. New poles have been installed, so we're picking away at those items, and I think the takeaway is, I've been asking for further information. It's my understanding that this motor was installed about 5 years ago. If we can get another 5 years and do some planning and figure out a way to change this out, that would be wonderful, but I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of value back in the core.
Okay.
I have a couple questions. One, you will give us an accounting once you get the amount, because we're kind of going into this blind, and so you're saying up to 8,000.
Up to, correct.
Okay, I'm fine with that. What I would like is a spreadsheet on the capital reserve fund. We had things we were going to purchase. We've used money, one for lights, now for a motor, and I would like to see that put together if we're talking about changing, and if this is the place, or whether we're going to do a warrant article to put a different motor in there. And I would like to have us think about that prior to getting into it.
Agreed.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we take no more than $8,000 out of the capital reserve Abenaki fund for replacement of the motor for the rope tow.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, is there any other business?
Oh, the only other business is, Jim, now that we're talking about putting the lease agreements, license agreements, and things like that on the tax card, I was just wondering, it came to my head, what the status of the Railroad Ave, mapping out that road,
Layout.
the layout of that road.
Of Railroad Avenue and the easements.
Yep. So that is being worked through with, I believe it's Promise surveyors to get the final as-build put together, and working with legal counsel to ensure that it meets the criteria to come forward for acceptance. Hopeful that March to April timeframe that's going to be done. They've got to get back out there and do some more final measurements, such as the EV charging stations, a couple other minor
Yeah, that's what
changes.
That was my question, is do the EV charging stations have to play into that whole thing? And there is a conduits for a second station right beside that one. I don't know if it's something that has to be figured out when we do that layout, at least noted that there could be a second unit right beside the other one.
Well, that would be a wonderful time for us to have the as-bills that we have discussed for a number of times, and we'll work on that to ensure that they're in the as-bills, which will be essentially what you have for layout of the road.
Well, I want to make sure that we aren't changing that boundary by where they have their shed on our land. We have nothing to know with what you're negotiating. I mean, if you did it as is, it would look like that was theirs. And we as a board did not say that we wanted to give that land for their shed. So
That's correct.
I'm having I don't know, you're not going to give them that shed and that walkway?
It's not my intention.
Okay, because we built a walkway to it, so that's why I'm a little concerned.
Okay, any other business?
Yeah, I'll do this under other business instead of committee report. The Charrette Committee met to continue its work as a follow-up to the Charrette, and they have two requests for the Board of Selectmen. Before more plans and discussion go into a possible community center on the electric building site and on the community center site, the Charrette Committee would like the town to do a site assessment of the lots and to talk with DES about any site issues, since we know there are monitoring wells on those properties because of hazardous material leak. The town has already done the building assessment. This is the site assessment, and it makes sense for us to do that before we move forward. And I didn't know whether the other board members were willing to support that and get that going. Is
it too early to do that?
No, we're starting to talk about it. And if the land is such or the site is such that it's going to cost a large amount of money to build there, we should know that sooner than later and not be spending a lot of time. We should know if we've spent the money on the building, we should know about the lots.
You want to make a motion to that effect?
Yep.
So we have it as a record?
Yep, I'll make a motion that the town hire somebody to do a site assessment for hazardous materials on the electric building lot and on the community center lot, and also talk to DES to see if they have any issues.
I would like it if we waited and found out what that would cost first. I'd like to have a number on it first before we just decide that we're going to say, yes, let's go out and do a site assessment and not know whether it's going to cost $5 or $10,000.
Maybe you could find out for us.
So I actually had a meeting yesterday, myself and Amy, with Ty and Bond. They've got a lot of the work done down there. They're putting together a preliminary scope of work for us on the site. That preliminary scope of work will involve evaluation and testing of the areas. It'll also involve, if we were to remove the materials, what that cost may be. And then they'll as well put together a secondary portion to it that will look at it from the perspective of being able to put out an RFP to look at different options for the property if we are able to either encapsulate on site or be able to remove the materials and expand the property. So it's already kind of a work in progress.
Any estimated cost, or is that what they're going to come up with?
That's what they're going to come back to us with. They don't believe that the first round of expenses will be too terribly high. And that will give us numbers so that if we wanted to go forward with the process, to be able to get an actual architect engineer on board to take it to the next level, so that when we get into that CIP process and do that budget process, we've got an idea of what the next step is going to cost us.
And this,
Just a question real quick, since Victor's here and Victor owns 16 Laner Street, I mean, you must have done a lot of testing at 16. Those buildings are like almost on top of each other. Did you do a lot of ground testing when you were doing the building reconstruction? That might be really good for Jim to have when we go forward, because those buildings are on top of each other almost.
yes. Well, we still monitor those wells. We pay a significant amount of money each year to monitor. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Might check with Barry, too. He probably has a lot of
So
information.
Dana from Ty and Bond didn't have a terrible concern about being able to have their environmental division being able to get those documents. It's just a matter of doing the legwork and getting it done, but he didn't feel it was a big push to get that completed.
And part of the charrette and the group, we're looking at that for a community center, and that's why this committee didn't want to spend a lot of time, wanted to find out the information first.
Yep.
And it seems like if we're going to do anything with those two sites, we need to know what the parameters are,
Well,
so.
Sounds like that's under control at this point, at least somewhat.
Yeah, and I
That's
think,
what
I think the only other thing, just so that we're clear, I mean, at this point, all that work really would get pushed to MED's budget based on their contamination at this point.
Any other business?
Well, wait a second. I'm not done. So in essence, everybody except Brian is okay with us moving forward with this? Okay. The next thing was we were down and we had walked the area of Fossfield, and when we took our walk, we noticed that the Fossfield path was not in very good shape. And so the committee was hoping that the board would consider starting at the Bridge Falls path, going down the Fossfield path, which goes along beside the soccer field, the tennis courts, the Little League field, and the playground to the parking lot, that we would do some work on this path. It needs to be repaired, leveled, and upgraded. The committee hopes that this path can be the same width as the Bridge Falls path and the stone dust topping. This project is not in the 2023 operating budget, but the reason for the request coming forward at this particular time is the loss of the Hunter Supermarket and the need to link the boaters and shoppers to Harvest Market. The Fossfield path is a link from the Glandon Street parking lot to the Clark Plaza and Harvest Market. It also coming down the Bridge Falls path. That would be the path if you came in by boat that you would go over there. If anybody can remember the last time that Hunters caught fire and we only got to shop at DeValder's, the parking lot down at Clark Plaza was unbelievably congested, and this would allow a nice path from the Glendon Street parking lot, and we also think that it would assist boats if they had parked at the railroad station to come in and get groceries, or even a nice path if you had to park at Wolfeboro Bay and walk back. And so it's a request. We're hoping that we could find some funds in the maintenance budget to upgrade this path. I think it would add to our ability to handle the summer population at our Harvest Market.
I'd suggest we wait until the new lights are on the Bridge Falls path, because doing that, they might have to do some general maintenance on the Bridge Falls path, meaning putting some stone dust down and stuff like that, because that path also hasn't been really had a tweak on it in quite a long time. And do those two first, and then look at doing that other path in conjunction with it while you're already doing the work, or something to that effect. Because the Bridge Falls path is getting pretty worn out, and I assume when they bring equipment down and everything and do all those lights, that they are going to be digging lots of holes and doing lots of things to the Bridge Falls path, and it's going to need to be cleaned up after they're done.
Well, I hope that that is part of the project. This is really to address an issue with not having two supermarkets in town and the volume of cars that we're going to have down there. I think your idea of doing it at the same time when we have the equipment down there works, but I wouldn't want to see that this path wasn't done this year, because I think it's going to be an important link for us this summer.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it for that.
Okay. We want to start with committee reports. Brian?
I had none.
Luke?
I have none.
I attended 2 library trustees search committee meetings. All applications are in for the new director of the library. They closed on January 30th, so they'll be moving forward with that. I went to the Wedco retirement party for Denise Roy Palmer, who worked for the Wedco for many years as the executive director, and who was a member of the town's economic development committee and played a key role in our business expansion and survey. I attended a school board meeting. This is my second one. We were talking about, we went because of the Pop Whalen locker room petition warrant article for the purchase of 2 locker rooms for the Kingswood teams. And here are the issues. The school board felt that the town did not return the MOU to the school district in a timely manner, so there is no agreement on the use of the locker rooms. If the town wanted the school board to be part of the process, the school district needed to be included in the design. But the town did include the school. Victor and I went and met with the principal of the high school, the athletic director, and the SAU finance director. I think it was either in late 2021 or early 2022. And we showed them the building plans and the layout. At that meeting, the finance director said she thought it was going to need to be a warrant article. I explained to the school board that the petition warrant article for the lockers was an opportunity to customize locker rooms for the Kingswood High School team, and I asked the school board to join the town of Wolfeboro in providing these locker rooms. I want to point out that the taxpayers pay our Wolfeboro taxpayers pay 35% of the school district's operating budget for warrant articles. I also did, at the school board, took no action on the petition warrant article, and because there needs to be a correction to the petition warrant article, it split the payments in 2 years, and we didn't meet the time requirements for 2 payments because it was the same as a bond, but it does work for 1 year, and the Friends of Pop will be correcting that at the deliberative session for the school district, which is this Saturday, February 4th at 10 a.m., and we'd like to see your support. I also stayed for some time for the conversation regarding the school resource officer. Guy Donnelly, the principal of the high school, described to the school board and the audience the important role that the SRO officers have played over the years and how it affected the well-being of the school. He spoke in favor of an additional RSO for the Kingswood complex. The middle school principal and the head of guidance supported the high school principal's comments in favor of the RSO officer. I had a meeting with the Friends of Pop. That's all I have.
Okay. I had no meetings since our last meeting.
Yeah, I've had a few meetings with the friends here. We had, last week, they held 2 public question and answer sessions at the library. They were fairly lightly attended. Nan was there for one of them there. Community TV did film them, so they'd be, people would be able to view it on the television there. I also went up and met with Cobb Hill at the Libby one day. That they brought in some more subs to look at that. They're still, saying they're going to have the number 2-us the day before deliberative session. So that's good. We'll have, if we need to make any adjustments, we can do that on the floor. And also something very good to report. I got an email today that the Friends of Libby has met their obligation for $2.2 million. They got the funds raised they needed to get that $150,000 match, so they have gotten to their $2.2 million. And one of the donors that got them up to that amount has also added $50,000 in toward the endowment also under that. So that's growing now too. So I just wanted to put that out there to everybody that that they are there, and see where that goes here. And that's it for me.
Town manager's report.
You have in front of you the presentation for next Tuesday. For those who don't know, next Tuesday is our deliberative session right here in the Great Hall, 7 p.m. We've got a number of warrant articles to be considered. Just for those who are have been paying attention to the warrant articles, DRA required us to make a change to our ordering, and they required us to put the fire truck lease prior to the operating budget and after the bonds. So that has been changed to number 15. The operating budget has been changed to 16. The sewer pump stations have been changed to 17. And then from that point out, it's the normal numbering, and those have been changed in your packet to reflect that. On the 16th, which is a Thursday at 5 to 7 p.m., there'll be a open house walkthrough of the public safety building to go through, look at the existing conditions, and to be able to look at the plans for the proposed project and the to speak with the architects and the construction managers.
Jim, will you check on the 16th? I had down that DOT might be holding a public hearing. You want to check with Tavis to make sure we don't have a conflict there?
Okay.
I could have the wrong date, but that's the date I remember.
Okay. Was that, do you remember if that was a daytime or an evening? Don't
What?
remember? I'll find out.
It was a public hearing from New Hampshire DOT,
Okay.
and I thought it was an evening one, too.
Okay.
Tavis sent us that.
And that is all that I have.
Okay, any questions from the press?
Yes, will the final listing of the warrant article be online in advance of the deliberative session?
I believe that they are already.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, any public input?
She can use mine.
Here you go, Ann. Ann,
right.
you're all set.
And it's back there.
So I wanted to give you a little background on warrant Article 38. So I'm respectfully here to provide some information from other towns and so forth. I also wanted to talk to you about the intent. And I think there's a real groundswell of interest in supporting the Parks and Rec Department and all the many silos and the increase in assets that our town is blessed with. We have many different silos. There's, in my discussions with Parks and Rec directors in other towns that have commissions, they find them very helpful, supportive, and they enhance communication. They enhance the efficiency. They bring volunteers to the table, just as our other commissions do. So without getting into a lot of detail, I have handouts for you basically outlining that the Board of Selectmen would have the ultimate authority over such a commission. So I heard discussions and concerns about that aspect. And I think it's important to note that there are a lot of people in town who said to me, we don't have one, why not? So I really ask for your consideration in this, and I hope this information's helpful. Other towns, and also 35B3 outlining your powers, which are ultimate over such a commission. So I thank you for your consideration, and I want you to know I have no agenda here. I don't need to be involved. I don't want to. I think this would make Wolfeboro a better place. I've lived in other towns that have Parks and Rec commissions, and they are incredibly enhancing to the town. So thank you.
Anybody else?
I was just wondering, a committee is not appropriate? It'd have to be a commission?
Thanks, Ann.
Sorry about the differing typefaces, but cutting and pasting doesn't always work. I believe reading the RSA is the basis of the warrant article, and that's the subject matter
Okay.
of the warrant article.
Anybody else?
I want to thank Suzanne, who's been helpful, and others. Next week, I will have testimony from people, written and otherwise, and feel free to call some of the towns who have commissions, because I think you'll see it could be really supportive of you guys too, especially when I listened to this meeting tonight. So thank you.
I have one more question. Do you know how many towns our size or our statute or have commissions in New Hampshire? Do you know?
Let me just look here, see if I included what I could, what was available in here. Let's see. So there are. Here's what I have here. I can try to get back to you on that.
That would be good.
And I'm not
for me.
sure it's totally available. But anyway, the number of towns in New Hampshire is 221. Number of towns with a town manager, 12. And some of those 12 have Parks and Rec commissions.
Okay.
And I've included information from those. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, I think I need a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to non-public.